You're watching The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the God. We are The Breakfast Club. We got a special guest in the building. Touré!
Touré!
Welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Touré, you know, growing up, I've always watched you because you have been on the end of some very memorable interviews.
Yes.
Here it goes. Like which one?
Yes,
Nah, I mean,
indeed.
the Jay-Z and Nas, you know what I mean?
Yep.
When Jay-Z
Yep.
called Cam a snitch.
Yep.
R. Kelly.
R. Kelly for sure.
When
Yep.
he just would not admit that he liked teenage girls.
That was a classic one. Your
Both of those at BET. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's when BET had a strong focus on journalism.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I just was telling you that I enjoyed them. That's all.
I mean, I mean, you've been in those sort of moments too, and you know it's a big moment. You know before you walk in the door, the culture is going to be watching. R. Kelly had just come off of a trial. Jay-Z and Nas had just come together after a long battle. You know the culture's watching. You feel a certain pressure, I think, like an athlete going into a playoff game. Like, this is a big moment. You know you got to perform. You know you got to get it out. With Jay-Z and Nas, it just flowed. They were great. You know what I mean? I was honored the whole thing. They talked to Sway, and then they drove down the street and talked to me, and that was it. And I was like, this is an honor. With R. Kelly, I thought I didn't get it.
Tell us about that one. How did you prepare for that?
What do you mean
one?
you didn't get it?
I thought that I didn't get him saying the thing that I wanted him to say. Like,
But you know
bring it
what?
up-
did.
Well, no,
But
I
him
knew
not saying those things was kind of important. The way that he tried to evade, but it
Right.
still was awkward and crazy.
I mean, in the moment, it felt like they didn't get it. Now, when we saw it, it was like, oh, wow. And I also thought they were going to cut that out.
Really?
I thought they were going to cut that out. BET only aired that once.
Really?
Because
Yeah,
R.
because at
Kelly
the time, R. Kelly
called
had so much power.
and was
Yeah,
like, we're not going to rock with you anymore if you air it again. You sat for the interview.
Right.
We didn't ambush you like 60 Minutes. You came, sat down. We had a conversation in a hotel. I mean, what you don't see is the conversation is devolving as we're going on. It did not end with like a handshake and I'll see you later, man. You know, like
Yeah.
you have that intimate discussion with a man, especially in like, yo, you know, you kind of closer. I remember toward the end, I was like, yo, can you tell your fans this will not happen again? And he's like, oh, yeah, this interview will never happen again.
Wow, but
And
I'm
when we
definitely going to be on a
finished-
little girl again.
Yeah, when we finished, like, I went that way, he went that way, and we're like,
But what do
I'm
you
not
think
gonna-
was going to happen in that interview?
Wow.
I mean, you have to say,
What
you
did I
know,
think was
did he
gonna
not think
happen?
those things would come up? I would think he
I
would be
guess not.
prepared.
But let's
He
play-
was
let's play-
there.
Let's play a clip of it right fast
Okay.
for people who haven't heard.
Do you like teenage girls?
When you say teenage, how old are we talking?
Girls who are teenagers.
He was there with a crisis manager. And in the moment that we're talking about, I asked him, do you like underage girls? Which was just a softball just to get into the issue, right? I mean, that's the easiest question in the world. Even
Right.
if you're a maniac, you'd be like, no.
Right. Even if you do, you're going to still say, no, I don't.
No. And the crisis manager jumped up and said, you can't ask him that. And he said, no, I got this. And so then I work for you. So then he sat down. And if you watch it closely, I start to say, but
Teenage.
then something in my head, I started to say underage. And something in my head said, he going to be able to slide out of that. Just say teenage. Just go from there.
So why come when he rebutted and said, what do you mean by teenage, why didn't you say underage?
Because I didn't want him to get that out of like, no, I don't mess with 14, 13-year-old girls, right? He'd
Gotcha.
already intimated something like that. And I'm like, I'm not having a discussion about 14, 13, 12, because you like 14, 15, 16. I mean, like.
Allegedly.
Does it make you look?
I don't even want to go with allegedly no more. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
saw the tape.
It's crazy that he still has a career.
Duh.
Isn't it?
Yes.
It is.
Isn't it?
And with all these new allegations coming up about him and all these new stories, everybody's referring back to that interview
We saw
also.
the tape.
I mean, you know, all I did was ask him the question that America wanted to ask him.
Right. How could you not?
And
Your
he
facial expressions were classic.
Well, see, that's part of the thing, too, is that I was trying to not let him and the crisis manager know that they messed up. Can I curse here?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was trying to let them know they fucked up, right? I didn't want them to know they fucked up, right? And sometimes you have to do that in an interview of like not let the person know they just played themselves, right? Because if you as an interviewer are like, then they're like, oh, make sure we cut that shit out, da-da-da-da.
Right.
If you're just like, cool, then they may not realize they just stepped in it.
It's a new era now, though. So if they play themselves, they know we're not cutting it out because they can't have they don't have that kind of leverage no more. Oh, we're not gonna come up there no more. So we're not gonna do this if y'all don't sew.
I mean, I hope so. You know what I mean? I hope so. A lot of even when you have a situation where you're on a label and there's 4 or 5 other people on the label, and we might want to get at 2, 3, 4 of those other people. And if you piss me off with this one, you're not gonna get the other. That's kind of how some of the leverage works.
Labels don't have that kind of power. No
Not
more.
anymore. Back then, yes, absolutely back then.
But don't it make you lose respect for BET though? At that time.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's like
absolutely.
y'all are choosing this guy over actually like getting the word out about
You're really
pedophilia and underage.
You're protecting him.
His audience are literally the people that he is choosing to molest, rape, whatever else you want to call it. So they are choosing to protect him and remain in business with him, even though we know that he's a monster. We know what he's doing to these young girls. Yeah, no, I thought that was incredibly wimpy that like we aired it once and now we're just going to not air it again. This was a massive success for them as a show. You remember the whole country was like, can't wait to see this. Right. You know, my Twitter was it Twitter then?
No.
MySpace.
My MySpace was blowing up. My God,
Maybe
I was
Black Planet.
on Black Planet. Remember Omar and them? I was on Black Planet. Hell yeah.
That was years ago.
Maybe your
yeah.
Friendster. Perhaps?
Wasn't no
My
social media.
Friendster. My Friendster. Yo, as we're taking a pause in a bit, I've known Angela forever, and I'm so proud of you, the way you've blown up and are exactly the same person you were before all of this.
So are you, Touré. I've known Touré since I was probably a teenager, actually.
Whoa.
When you say teenager, what do you mean by teenager?
Kind of like no, but I've always been really impressed by Touré and your consistency and all. Like, it's amazing to me. So I'm glad that you're up here.
Hell yeah.
But how did you get started for people that don't know? You started off an intern, right?
Man, yeah. I was an intern at Rolling Stone, and I was like the worst intern. And I don't encourage this entire style of interning.
Okay.
Why were you the worst?
Why was it so bad?
Because I saw right away, this is not constructed to do anything but create a free labor force for the workers, the editors and the writers. They weren't teaching us anything. They were just like, just do our little stuff and you can breathe our air. So I'm like, I need money. Like, I'm working in a restaurant. I used to work at Mr. Fuji's Tropicana.
But
remember that?
Yeah.
The 13th and 5th. So what I would do is I would go around to the writers and editors and talk to them, like, how do you become a writer? And they really didn't want us to do that, so they kept giving us work. So I would go to the other interns, and I would say, the lady who heads the intern program, she wants you to do this. She wants you to answer this phone for the next half hour. She told me to tell you to copy this stack of stuff, you know. So they would go do it, and then I'd have a free half hour. And I'd be up in the writer's face and the editor's face like, yo, how do you become a writer? And somebody actually took me to lunch. Alan Light actually took me to lunch. He was a big writer then. I was just an intern, and I'm always like, can't believe you took that time out to talk to me. And it really helped me understand. And so then at one point I was walking around listening to a new album on, it was a Discman then. I'm handing out the mail. Listen, you would think that would be okay in Rolling Stone. Somebody didn't like it.
That you had on headphones?
That I had on headphones in the office.
They must have been trying to call you and you didn't hear them.
And they fired me. But I
fired
already
intern.
Yes, they fired a free intern.
But maybe they didn't. That person probably just didn't like you anyway.
I don't think he did.
But you know what? I will say this, and I always tell interns
so then they gave
this,
me
though.
a job after that.
Oh, the person who fired you?
No.
Oh.
Somebody else. Somebody in a different, like the art department guy was like, I don't like that, what he did. But the review editor was like, I'm fucking with him. And he gave me a couple reviews and then we were working
But
together.
I think it's important for interns also to be proactive, because you can be the type of intern that does just photocopy things and do all of that, or you can be the intern that is proactive. And that's why I feel like it's important once you're there for you to say, okay, you know, I'm doing this, but what else do you need me to do? Is there anything else I can do? Can I shadow you? It is important to go and talk to people in different departments. And a lot of interns don't do that. Some do, but what makes you stand out is when you are that type of person. So I do feel like there's people that'll be really go out there and go for it, and then there's the people that are just fine with going to get lunch and breakfast.
Yeah, if you have a controlled, humble aggression about it, then you can really insinuate yourself in the situation and be indispensable and learn rather than just be the little. I mean, one thing I see a lot with the interns is that some folks who are 21, 22, 23 don't speak, they don't communicate in the way grown-ups do.
Right.
They may speak too slowly or too softly or what have you. And just being in this environment, if they really embrace it and immerse themselves, then they can learn. You know what I mean? They just have to learn, just like this is the volume we talk at, this is the pace we talk at. You know what I mean? As grown folks.
It's interesting, too, though, because I always tell interns, just take advantage of being in the door. Yeah. Like, it's not my job to sit around and, like, school interns on things, you know what I mean? Like, 'cause I don't know what you're here for. Like, so you have to ask questions. So you're doing the right thing.
I've been thinking about hiring an intern.
You should get one for sure.
I do. I mean,
They
I got
get
this.
paid here now. They get paid.
Well, I can't pay an intern.
Interns get paid.
But
here.
if you, I'm
Which is
doing a
crazy to me.
podcast now. It's a lot of work, but I'm really proud of how it's going. If you want to rock with me on my podcast, Touré Show, as an intern, hit me up on Twitter and we'll talk about it at Touré.
Because we all started off as interns at one point.
I mean, it's a great way to just get in the door. But can we talk about the podcast for a second?
Yes, of course, that's what we're here for.
Okay. It's called Touré Show. It's about success. I'm having like hour-long one-on-one conversations with successful people, mostly successful Black people, just dealing with how did you become successful? What are the tactics? What are the attitudes? What are the things that helped you get up the mountain? Just talked to Spike Lee. This week is Patrice Cullors. We got Joy Reid coming up. Black Thought coming up. We've had Maxwell and RZA and Nikki Giovanni and Reggie Hudlin. Just like, how do you do what you do? And you start to see what people are saying to themselves and what they're doing and how they're getting themselves up the mountain. It's really, really interesting.
How is your conversations going to differ from all the conversations that are going on in the podcast radio sphere now?
I mean, I don't want to have an entertaining, fun conversation. How's your day? I'm not a comedian.
Well,
I want to have.
I know whose show people won't be doing then. If you,
No. But I want my conversation to be valuable for the audience.
Got you.
So I want it to be like, how did you come up, and what do I need to know as I'm trying to come up?
So it's informative.
Yeah,
more than anything.
yeah. I mean, like, I look at you. You got an attitude that helps you propel towards success. You think about your projects. Let's do a book. Let's expand this, that, the other. I mean, we met when you were helping Wendy, and now you're on the front burner, and that didn't just happen.
Absolutely,
So
the process.
I would talk to you about how did you get from being second with her to being in the first chair, and
Gotcha.
what did you do? How did you get from that radio show to this one? And so we understand. How did you make those power moves that helped you move up in your career?
Because kids don't respect the process no more.
Yeah, I mean, like, I want to talk to like actors about like, just give me a master class on acting. I don't want to talk about you broke up with your girlfriend or your husband or what. I don't care about that. Like, we did one with Titus Burgess that's going to come out in a little while. How'd you approach that scene on Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt? Like, he's incredibly physical.
Amazing.
How do
Hilarious.
you do it? And he's like, the light just goes on and I bug out. I don't think about what I'm going to do with my body in these moments. I just lose myself, and that helps me get there. And just I want to know about that sort of stuff. So that's how it's really different. I'm not going to talk about the gossip. That's for somebody else. I'm going to talk about what do you know that can help me succeed.
Is that the reason you're doing the podcast? You could do it your way?
Yes. Hell yeah. I mean, I love doing interviews. And I've been doing interviews. It's been the core of my professional life, for 25 years. And I just wanted to see, let me do it my way and get to where I can talk to you about how'd you succeed?
Who do you enjoy watching interview nowadays?
Well, there's this sister who does, Kara Swisher, who does Recode Decode. She is a fantastic interviewer.
Where's that at?
She does a podcast. Kara Swisher. I don't even always care about what she's talking about, but she's just a fantastic interviewer. She's just in the moment. You know what else is good? I was watching Letterman and Obama. Letterman
I meant
is
to watch
fantastic.
that this weekend. Duh. Touré. I meant to watch that this weekend. I didn't get a chance to.
I mean, he's just fantastic. He's just smooth. I just want to see somebody who's in the moment, like having a conversation which goes back and forth. Not like I wrote out 10 questions and I'm going to ask them in order.
Right.
But like, I'm just in the moment, having a conversation with you. We're flowing. Sometimes interviewers talk too long, I think.
Interviewers, they talk too long when they ask questions, and they don't listen. Right. Like exactly what you said. Like I always have pre-prepared questions, but if I don't get to them, I don't get to them. You know what I'm saying? There's just things that I know I want to ask, but you got to listen to what the person's saying.
I definitely have pre-prepared questions. But yeah, if
you have to go with the flow. I listen to what you're talking about, and if it goes in a different direction. Have you ever been intimidated interviewing anyone?
Have I ever been intimidated?
Like, oh my God, this is crazy. This is Prince or something.
I mean, I interviewed Prince, but it wasn't, Ange, I mean,
me and you have that in common because we're huge Prince fans.
Huge Prince fans. But I mean, like, you interview a bunch of celebrities and that sort of goes away, right? And you get more suffused with like the responsibility of getting a good interview out of this person because we have a finite amount of time. Mm-hmm. They come in here, sit with you for half an hour, whatever it is, sit with me for an hour or a day or half an hour, whatever. I have to get this good. And I think more about, these other writers, these other radio people, TV people got a good interview out of so-and-so. I want to make sure I get a better interview than them. So this is my time. I better get focused on making this happen in this moment.
What do you care about relationships? Because some people don't want to ask people certain things because of their relationships with the person.
I mean, that hasn't been a problem for me for a while. I mean, there was a time when I was at Rolling Stone, I was in the thick of it, and it was like, I need Def Jam every week. I need Uptown. I need Bad Boy. So if I really piss you off, but then again, they would probably be like, nah, dude, you were the dude who would say anything. So here's the thing, right? I interviewed 50 Cent at BET, okay? Some of this I take personally, right? And I remember this is before, I interviewed him for Rolling Stone, right, when he first came out, and he was huge. And the steroids thing in baseball had not happened. So it didn't occur to me, you can't get that big just naturally, just lifting. Then I interviewed him at BET, and I was like, and the steroids thing had happened in baseball, so I was like, you do steroids? And he was like, he got very upset. And like, my nutritionist is in the right next room. He travels me everywhere. How dare you ask me that? 6 months later, the story in the New York Times came out. Timbaland, Mary, and 50 get their steroids from this doctor in Westchester. And I'm just like, why are you lying to me? If you're not a professional athlete, there's nothing wrong with doing steroids. So when I talked to him for Fuse, sitting there with him for like 45 minutes. Here come the little devil on my shoulder. What's the matter? You pussy? Ask him the question. What's the matter? And the other one's like, nah, they're going to be pissed. And the other one like, what is he going to do? What is the matter with you? Ask him. So I'm like, yo, look, when we was at BET, you said da-da-da-da. And then this report came out. You're not a professional athlete. There's nothing wrong with you doing steroids. Why don't you just tell us you do steroids? What's the big deal? And I could hear his people in the background like rumbling, like, what the hell is he doing? Mm-hmm. And he leaned back and he just laughed like that devil laugh that he has. And I was like, oh, here we go. And he said, a lot of rappers say you're an asshole, but I just say you ask difficult questions. And that was the end of that. He was like, I'm not talking. So sometimes you see they're just not going to answer the question. And I put myself out there,
right.
And he may never talk to me again. And I totally would understand that. So, you may put yourself out there and then the person's like, well, I'm just not going to answer the question.
I also feel like you can ask any question. It's the way you ask it, too.
I think you should just ask it. It's only a difficult question if the person's lying.
I guess. I mean,
it's not difficult if you ask me, okay, hey, are you gay? I'm like, no. Why is it difficult unless you're lying about it?
I hear you.
Some things legally you can't answer too, though.
Well, legally you
say
can't
that.
answer something.
Yeah, you can say that. I think you can answer any question, and people just have to know how to answer questions. Like if it's something that you don't want to discuss, but you know it's going to be asked, you just have to be ready to answer that question. Like, listen, legally I can't answer this, or you know what, that's not something I really want to discuss right now. It's just a matter of you knowing how to answer a question too. I mean, because anybody can ask anything you want. It's really your reaction.
But the interviewer, right? You got to have silence is a big question.
I love it though.
Yeah.
Because I remember talking to Remy Ma before when she was on trial. And it's like, and I had just had my first child. So I started to understand what that means to a parent. And she was like, I ain't scared of going to jail. Like she grew up in not the projects, but she was foster child, right? So, I mean, she's like, I've been through the system. That don't mean nothing to me. And I was like, so it's not going to hurt you to be away from your son? And she just looked at me And I'm just looking at her. And now we have like a long, uncomfortable silence. And she's like, you ain't gonna get me crying on TV. And now I'm not talking at all. So neither of us have really said anything for like 30 seconds. And then she started crying. And I'm like, just because I'm not leaving the issue. I'm not making it easy. And I mean, I think just being silent can get you a long way.
Have you ever
But
got threatened?
silence makes some interviewers uncomfortable.
Oh, absolutely. Have I ever been threatened?
You just named 50 Cent and Remy Ma, the two artists that probably would have threatened you.
Yeah, well, nah, I mean, I've been around, Snoop, DMX, everybody. I can't remember being threatened. Certainly not something I was worried about. Not that I'm tough or anything, but I don't remember anybody stepping to me like that.
And you can sue once they hit you.
I don't think.
Back then, I don't think nobody ever sued.
I don't think anybody would be stepping to me anyway, because they just wouldn't see me in that vein of like, we gonna fight with him. Like, that's not what he's built for.
Well, Donald Trump has stepped to you.
He did.
On Twitter.
He did. It's deep because when I was at MSNBC, I used to troll him. And 3 times I trolled him like, yo, you went bankrupt a bunch of times. And he was silent. The 4th time, he starts chirping back. And no, I didn't, dummy. And you're racist. And I'm like, yes, you did. So then he blocked me. And then the year before, 2015, the year before he ran for president, I saw him at the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
And there's that devil on your shoulder again?
No. And we came down the stairs at the same time, and I saw him. And he was very proactive. He he could have ignored me, could have just brushed off, but he went to me, put his arm around my shoulder like, you're a good guy, Touré. I like you. You're all right.
He said guy or boy?
No, he said guy. He said guy. And then went inside, and I was like, wow, that was really warm. He's running for president. Like, damn. Like, he's trying to be like retail politics, like, settle all the old scores, even though he says still hasn't unblocked me.
He still hasn't unblocked you.
No, I'm still blocked.
So I got to ask you now, as a difficult question, what happened at MSNBC?
Oh, that's not a difficult question.
Okay.
A new president came in, Andy Lack, and he wanted to do things his way. We were doing well as a show. We weren't killing it, but we didn't have bad ratings. We had good ratings, and he wanted to do things differently. And so you see, there was an opinionated afternoon block of Joy Reid, very progressive, and then us, very progressive, and then Alex Wagner, very progressive. And he was like, I want the daytime to be more politically flat. So now you have folks who are great hosts, Hallie Jackson, Katie Tur, but they're not political themselves. They're not ideological themselves. And that's what he wanted.
That wasn't a difficult question because you told the truth.
Right.
Well, but I'm also not embarrassed about it. You know what I mean? Like, every network I've been at,
right.
Eventually a new president comes in and things change. When he when he got hired, I told the rest of my team, like, yo, every network I've been at, when a new president comes in, he does house cleaning, and they were like, you're a fearmonger. And I'm like, no, I've just had 5 or 6 television shows, and this is y'all's first show, and this is the way that it goes. And a couple of months later, that's what it was. And, I loved that show. It was so great. It was everything. I mean, Angela, I have never cried like that. Like, as soon as the red light went off for the last time, I, went on Crystal's shoulder and I cried, and I was like, this is the best job I've ever had.
I really enjoyed watching you on there. That's why it was difficult. I didn't think.
Thank you.
We need to see you back.
I
saw you talking about Martin Luther King Jr. Day and how they didn't have any black people on talking about Martin Luther King.
It was, what was hard was listening to Trump quote King.
Oh my gosh, how can he do that after everything else that he's done?
I know.
It's so insincere.
He has no sense. To hear King's words coming out of his mouth really made my stomach turn, and to see King's nephew standing beside him, kowtowing and Uncle Tommen like that. It was disgusting.
His nephew, though. It wasn't like it was somebody from the inner circle. It wasn't none of his kids.
No, that's true. That's true. But just using the King name.
The representation of it when you're watching it, you're like, this is disgusting.
Just using the King name to stand up for Trump and like.
What was dumb was when he said, I don't think Trump's racist. I think he's
racially insensitive.
racially insensitive.
And uninformed and ignorant. Well, that's kind of what racism is. I mean, at this
look up the
point,
definition.
one of the things I did a book, "Who's Afraid of Post-Blackness," just dealing what it means to be black, and one of the core things that came out of that for me is to say somebody's racist or to call somebody racist is difficult because they want to talk about the entirety of their lives, and I have a black friend, and I listen to the Breakfast Club, so I'm not racist.
I watch Empire.
Your girl Tommy, right? Like I love 21 Savage.
Not my girl.
I'm not racist.
Don't throw that on
I'm
me.
not racist. But we can be very clear. Was that a difficult question?
No, not at all.
But we can be very clear when we're like, that was a racist act, right? Or you're participating in a racist practice. That thing right there. Okay, so that we can isolate and deal with. But Trump has had so many racist acts and comments and beliefs and behaviors. And I don't even want to go back to birtherism. I don't want to go back to Central Park 5. I don't want to go back to his father getting arrested at a Klan rally and what they did to their tenant. I just want to deal with the way that he used white supremacy and the protection of white privilege as the core of his campaign. That is the racism that's sufficient to me to convict him. He's unquestionably a racist.
Even people who worked for him say that he's racist, and they have no reason to make this up. Like
Right.
John O'Donnell, who was running the Trump casinos, talks about how he said he didn't want a black man to count his money.
Right.
And
He's racist. We
he
all know
wouldn't
he's
shake
racist.
hands with the black security that worked at his casinos.
I mean, it would be just simpler for all of us if he would just admit it.
And then what?
Nothing happens.
still be
But
president.
I'm saying,
Nothing
and
happens
then
after
what?
that.
He admits it, and then what?
No,
He's
you're
just the
right.
racist president, that's
I mean,
all.
there's not. I mean, like at least we would not have that discussion. But no, there's nothing that we can do beyond vote him out. You know, vote in 2018, vote in 2019, vote in 2020, get rid of him. You know, we're seeing the Democrats stand up on this DACA Dreamer issue, so I'm happy about that. I need some spine out of my Democrats to stand up to him. But we need them to have more people after 2018 so they can really ride.
I think it's sad that Oprah Winfrey is considered the number one candidate for the Democratic Party.
I don't think that's sad.
What do you think about- what do you think about
What are you
Oprah
talking
running?
about?
That's a good question.
The fact that, and I love Oprah, by the way.
Get you.
But who else?
Let's get his
There's
opinion.
nobody else.
No. There's a large number of strong Democrats.
I think Kamala Harris.
Kamala, you said it right the first time. She's a
yes.
friend. Kamala Harris.
Yes.
I see everyone pronounced the name wrong. Kamala Harris.
That's what I want.
Very strong.
I want to see us get energized behind her.
Yo, Kamala is dope. She's a former prosecutor. She's quick on her feet.
Yep.
She's incredibly inspiring. She's brilliant. I mean, like her in a debate with Trump, she would destroy him.
And she explains things. Like if you
Yes.
follow her on social media, she's actually giving out information and
Yes.
plans on how
Yes.
things can be better.
I love her.
I mean, Oprah hasn't said she's running for president, so
She has- that's
whoever she
correct.
backs, I'm sure that'll be powerful as it was.
Look, I mean, I love the idea of Kamala. I love the idea of Joe Biden. I'm still with Elizabeth Warren. I still roll with Bernie Sanders. There's Tim Ryan from Ohio who's going to make a run. So there's strong folks, and there may be somebody that we're not even thinking about right now.
Cory Booker's out there.
Cory Booker could do it.
I want a woman of color, though.
I'm not mad
I
at
just
you.
think it's that time.
I'm not mad at you, but that's part of why I like Oprah. Because black women are the core of the Democratic Party. They are the base of the Democratic Party. They come out to vote in larger numbers, and they vote for Democrats more consistently and more intensely.
That don't mean Oprah should be
than-
president. America's too obsessed with celebrities. Celebrities
don't-
are ultimately going to be our
I
demise.
don't think celebrity is in and of itself a downfall. Trump is just famous because he's famous. He doesn't actually do anything, right? He's like a wealthy Zsa Zsa Gabor, right? Oprah is famous
Zsa Zsa
because
Gabor.
thank you. I was like, the kids were like, what the hell? Who the hell are you talking about? Oprah is famous because we love her, because she's a television legend who has made herself special over the years by taking an area of television that was trashy, right? Remember Donahue and all that shit, right?
Donahue
Springer.
had Farrakhan on.
Right? And no, I mean, I'm not mad at that, but I'm saying just in general, Springer, Donahue, it was a trashy sort of television. She elevated it, made it spiritual. That's why people love her. And when I think about, I don't think so much about celebrity that she's known coast to coast. I think about character. And she's a person of incredible character.
Absolutely.
And you're going to have to run all your decisions first through your character. And as she's making decisions through her sort of character, her big personality, and I mean her magnanimous, I don't mean like big like she fills a room when she does, but I mean magnanimous, spiritual. that sort of person, I would be very comfortable with them making those sort of decisions.
Can you be a person of good moral and spiritual character like we know Oprah is and be president of the United States of America? What about when it's time to push that button and go to war? Can you imagine Oprah killing people?
Oprah ain't no sucker. I think she would.
Well, no, I think a person of great moral strength has to be president. We need that in a president. And quite often, not going to war is stronger than going to war and better. We would be better off in the Middle East if we pulled out, if we did not occupy, if we did not invade. And she's going to, I mean, I don't think she's going to become president. But if you want to continue the thought experiment, Oprah as president saying, no, why are we invading that country? Can we talk to them? Can we see what's really going on?
But that's not the American way. It should be, but it's not.
I mean, well, I don't know. I mean, you think about Nixon reaching out to China. You think about even Obama reaching out to Iran, like, Reagan, tear down the wall, Gorbachev. I mean, it is the American way. And, like, more of that, bringing the world together, it would be better than more bombing.
Well, but we're acting like Obama didn't do drone strikes.
Oh, we are.
Like, what are we talking about
you
here?
and I are not acting like that.
Okay.
I mean, no doubt. Obama did. He perpetuated and expanded the drone program that was handed to him. Wish that he would approach that differently. Not perhaps one of the worst parts of the Obama presidency, which is not. I did not always believe that, but I think now, like, that was extraordinarily problematic.
Absolutely. I don't want Oprah. I don't want the bar to be Donald Trump. Like, if we was having this conversation after Obama, like, yo, who'd make a good president? Oprah. Like, yeah. But the bar is, if the bar is Trump, no.
I think national household name recognition is not necessarily a negative thing. I think that in and of itself is a positive thing. How you got there, I want to know about, right? I see a lot of folks just dismissing her because she's a celebrity. So you want to run Tim Ryan, who we have, or even Kamala Harris, who we have to teach the whole country who she is. That's 6 months of just making sure everyone in the country knows who she is.
She got experience in the political world. I want somebody who has experience in the political world.
I see the value. Obviously, I see the value in experience in the political world. I think that there are many sorts of experience that could do well in that job.
And you also surround yourself with people who obviously have a lot of experience in
Let's
that
put
world
Oprah on
as
the
well.
transition team and get Kamala in the White House. Okay, that'll
hopefully
work.
That's what will happen.
Now,
Yes.
Touré, let's switch gears for a second,
Sure.
since obviously we know you as a music journalist and a political journalist.
Yeah.
This Me Too movement
Yeah.
and everything that's been going on with that, and with the music business, with the film industry, because you're a big film buff too. What do you think about everything that's been happening with these women coming forward, some of these allegations? Did you read Aziz Ansari? What happened?
I want to go back. Of course, we read the Aziz thing, but I want to go back just a little bit in the Me Too history. I mean, we're friends with Russell. Like, I know you are. I know you are.
my guy.
I mean, like, I'm friend. He was at my wedding, and it hurt my heart to hear that story come out. I mean, and I can't say it's wrong. I met Kimora when she was 16. But she was hanging out with him. She wasn't hanging out with me. We were in the Hamptons at a dinner, and like,
I thought she was 17.
I remember her being 16.
Oh, okay.
I mean, and I mean, either way.
I think he's saying they knew each other, because Russell has said they knew each other, but nothing happened. That's what he says.
I don't know what that means.
Right.
That
You
Russell,
redshirted
nothing
her.
happened. I mean, and nobody said anything. Why is Russell showing up to lunch in the Hamptons with a 16-year-old girl? I mean,
It's
Did you
weird,
think
though.
anything at the time?
And not at the time. And I know Drew Dixon. I know Drew Dixon for a long time. I know she's 100% straight up and down. I mean, I'm like, the first name in the New York Times story is Drew. My friend Drew Dixon. Oh my God, my mother. Super honest person. Like, it hurt. It hurt me to know that was going on, because I mean, I've rarely worked in an office in my career anyway. So, I didn't know what was going on in terms of that.
And a lot of these things didn't happen in the office too.
Yeah, but I mean, Drew's talking about getting like chased around the office, and like, dude come into her office and she had to tell somebody else, like, save me from our boss. Like, it hurt me, and
What do you think should happen to Russell now? Because he stepped down from his businesses. Obviously, somebody you know well. Do you think that now his legacy is tarnished and people shouldn't work with him?
Well, he's saying it's not true, correct?
He is saying that, but I mean, like, his legacy is dead.
But don't you think that's fucked up though?
Do I think it's fucked up that he raped tons of people?
Wait, whoa, slow down, money. All right, here's the thing.
But do we
There's
know
no
that
due
he
process.
did that, though?
It's all, I'm not discrediting the people accusing him, but I'm not going to discredit Russell either. Like, what happened to due process?
I mean, we can have due process in a court of law, but when Drew Dixon comes to me and said, not me literally, but through the New York, and says, Russell raped me and this is what happened, I'm like, I'm not going to sell. I don't need to know anything more. I know Drew Dixon. I know who she is.
You know that she wouldn't lie, and you feel like her story.
Yes, and she's incredible detail in the story. I'm like, yo.
But if Russell Simmons says that didn't happen like that,
but you said
why
Russell.
Why are you
Russell
not even
came
taking
to
Russell
your
into
wedding.
account at all?
Right.
That's my whole problem with all of
because
this.
I can't imagine Drew, and I'm fixated on her because she's the only one I know. If she was alone, then it would be like, but like it's 10 or 15 against one, and the other ones I don't know, I never heard of, but I know.
And I feel you on that
because
if one of my really good friends came to me and said, "This is what happened to me," I would believe them.
Yeah, but you're believing him on because that's your friend, not because.
But he's saying he knows her character.
But you're believing that
his
because
legacy
that's your friend, not because that's
his
the
legacy
facts.
is dead. His legacy is dead.
Which is wrong.
You can't. No, it's not wrong. What are you talking about? He's a mass
we're
rapist.
eliminating
He's a
due
monster.
process.
You're eliminating. No, we have due process in a court of law. You could be innocent until proven guilty in a court of law.
So why should you be sentenced in the court of public opinion? Then? The court of public opinion should be able to take you out. If somebody comes out tomorrow and says Touré raped me in the 90s, automatically we should just be like, oh, you know what? Dismiss Touré and everything he's done.
I mean, that's what would happen.
That's not right.
You are. I mean, you are.
That's
you
not
are
right.
getting at some of the challenges that we're having in this thing, and
Yes.
I'm totally with you.
No, you're not. You're reinforcing it by saying he's a mass rapist.
I'm with you in the general sense of we're talking about this thing, and there is a challenge when one person gets to speak. There's no due process. I'm with you on that.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to locate it on the specific case
Is it this
of
particular
Russell,
person? Okay.
who has been with a lot of people. Apparently, there's a lot of people saying he raped them.
I don't know what Russell
disgusting.
did. And
It's frightening.
I'm not discrediting anybody. I'm just saying, like, and I'm glad. That's why I was glad when I think they said that they were going to pursue criminal charges, maybe.
Yeah.
And even
I wanna see it play out in the court of
even
law.
in the New York Times story, right? Amanda Seales, who another person who I've known for a very long time when she was Amanda Diva. She's talking
We all
about.
know her pretty well.
Yeah, that's your homie.
She talked about they're in a meeting with Russell, and he's like, "Did I have sex with you?" I am 100% sure I've heard him say that to other people.
I'm
like,
sure that happened.
Is it demeaning? Is it like reducing her? Is it like completely ruining a potential business meeting? 100%. I mean, like nothing that's being said is out of the realm of possibility. If somebody said something that you were like, that just does not compute with everything I know about that person. That's my man, and I know that's not him. Okay, you can go with that. But are we saying that about Russell? Are you saying that these things are like unthinkable about Russell?
To be honest, I'm not saying that about nobody. I don't care who it was. Like if a woman comes to me and says such and such raped me, I'm not going to discredit that man. I'm not going to discredit her either. I'm going to be like, well, wait and see what the facts are. The problem I have is that there's no due process in the court of public opinion, and people's reputations are being ruined. People are losing careers just based off. She say.
I am with you on that. Again, on the entirety of this whole thing, I'm with you on that. It's a very difficult part of it to deal with. Something that we have to deal with to get some of the truth and reconciliation out.
Yeah.
But, man.
Like, what do we do with Aziz? We was just cheering Aziz. First Muslim to win all these awards, and we was rooting for him.
Did they work together?
No, they
Did
didn't
he
work
rape
together.
her?
He-
Did he rape her?
They met.
Were they in
But let's tell people the
did they
story
were
in
in the
case-
industry together?
They don't know the
don't know.
story of what happened.
It sounded like a bad date.
He met up with a woman. They went on a date.
I don't know.
She went back to his apartment and they fooled around. He performed oral sex on her, and she said like she felt
And
like
she did on him.
right. She felt like she was coerced, and they had an exchange of text messages, which she posted, and she did a blog about it.
Well, throughout the night, she was like, I'm uncomfortable.
And he said, if it's not fun for you,
Then it's not fun for us?
Yeah.
Let's sit on the couch and chill
Get
with our
dressed.
clothes on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like,
And she said all you guys are the same, meaning that's probably happened to her multiple times.
I mean, look.
But if she was my friend, I'd believe her.
Look, she said she sent him clear, nonverbal signals.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what that is?
But what if that was Drew Dixon?
Do you know what that is?
If that was Drew Dixon, Touré.
No. But Drew Dixon is alleging rape, right? And in an employment situation, right? And I understand you can't just leave. Like, this is your in to the industry, right? You're trying to move ahead in the industry. So Drew talking about, like, I was putting up with it because I'm trying to get on in this industry. If I get a hit, then I can take my resume and go elsewhere. If I leave before I get a hit, then I have nothing in this business. So before when we were talking about employment problems, that was one thing. Is this about employment?
Mm-mm.
I mean, Angela,
It was
you
a
read the story.
First date.
What prevented her from leaving?
I don't see. It's very blurry to me because as a woman, I want to feel like, okay, but I don't know what nonverbal, like you said, indications are. And it does seem like once he saw that she was uncomfortable, he said, you know what? If it's not, she said she wasn't having fun. It's not fun for you. It's not fun for me. Let's just stop.
But, Touré, you say, what prevented her from leaving, but then people will hear you say that and be like, well, are you victim blaming? You're victim shaming.
Well, I no, and I would never want to be victim blaming or shaming, but I did notice that this story was quickly followed by a big editorial in the New York Times, editorial in the Atlantic magazine, and Ashley Banfield on Headline News, CNN, all saying, what the hell is this?
Yes.
Why couldn't she leave?
Which I liked.
Where is the female agency?
Yeah.
Where the women,
Yes.
grown women,
Yes.
saying, intelligent women that we respect, saying, why didn't she just walk out? And I am aware of my blindness as a male to say, why didn't she just walk out? And then, like, you don't understand this, this, and this. I accept that. But when I see grown women, intelligent women who I respect saying, where's the female agency? Why didn't you? Here's your clear nonverbal signal. Walk out the door.
Right. Because she's not obligated to stay and do any of the things that happen. And he never was forcing her or holding her
Right.
down against her will.
Right.
In his head, he probably was like, we're having a good time. As soon as he realized she wasn't.
She's not having a good
he
time.
Said, okay, we should both be having
Can
fun.
we tell women what counts for sexual assault, though?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Because in our mind, when I hear that story, that don't sound like sexual assault to me, but I don't know how she felt. It's a very nuanced thing that I think people aren't using nuance with.
So what do we tell people now to make sure they can avoid these types of situations from
married.
happening? What do you tell men?
I mean, you would definitely like to see guys be completely certain that she wants what's happening. And I think guys sometimes are aggressive and may not realize what's going on and may not, women talk about clear nonverbal cues. Men are not getting that. Right? Am I right? Men are not, I think women talk to each other using nonverbal cues and men do, but it's the man's, and I think this is like played out in sociology, the man's ability to understand nonverbal cues is less than the woman.
I've said that my whole life, even when I was a player out here in these streets. Like, you got to get naked and give me some pussy for me to know that you're trying to give me something. I'm being honest with you. Because it'll go right over my head.
And
Like,
my whole thing is this. I feel like, listen, if
Yes.
there's any drinking or drugs involved and you're not sure, just don't do it. Okay? If somebody says no at all or seems somewhat resistant, don't do it. If you're forcing anything to ripping her clothes off, any of that, just don't do it. Like, anything that feels like, I'm not sure she's whatever, just it's easier to just not do it.
Right.
If
I mean,
you
that
really like
sounds-
somebody, you'll go on a date later on again and
that sounds
keep
good,
working
but look
on
at
it.
the case of Aziz. I'm eating you out on my counter. You giving me oral. Like, it seems all good, but when
she
you
said stop.
you go home at night and feel bad about it. Now you saying I sexually assaulted you.
Didn't he stop when she
He
said
did
stop?
stop.
Yes.
Yeah, he did.
He was like, let's get dressed, and they sat down and watched Seinfeld.
What are you talking
I don't know, Touré. I really don't.
Now, Tory, one of the things I'm most feared of that fears and scares the shit out of me is the tax man when he comes knocking on your door. That's one person I don't play with. Now, he came knocking on your door
Wow.
a couple times.
Wow, you guys are wild. Wow. Wow. I mean, look.
Difficult question?
Yeah, I'm gonna be real. Yeah. And I tell you, I mean, like, I remember when the report came out, and I'm sitting in my office at MSNBC, and I'm like, because part of it is the way that the right-wing media likes to attack left-wing folks,
Right?
And it does not happen the other way, right? We don't sit around looking for dirt on them and attacking them.
We don't?
Nope, not in the way that they do on us. And I had to go out and tell my team, this happened. Y'all need to know. I don't want you to hear it individually. And I had to go back and call my wife and be like, so it's online, honey. Right. And that was really one of the few times that whatever level of fame I have negatively affected her. And I'm like, I'm really sorry that this is out there and da-da-da-da. I mean, the long and short of it that I can discuss, and I've dealt with 95% of that problem already. So it's because it's been a while. But I mean, look, when BET got a new president and did not renew my contract, and I had a new baby 3 months after that.
Don't you blame this on the president of BET?
No, I'm not blaming him. I'm just y'all can see, like, when I had a new baby and I barely worked for like 6 months, and
you ain't had time for
got
that.
behind.
Look.
I got
And when I get it,
and right, and it's like, how y'all want to do this? Because. I mean, and I believe in taxes. I just was
just at that time.
Yeah, I was just unable to fulfill my obligation at that moment.
Although you could have worked out a payment plan.
Oh, we did that.
Yeah.
Oh, we did that. That's why I'm like, how y'all want to do this?
Exactly.
Because, kind of break it up into 270ths? Because it's going to be a bit. But, it is what it is.
Tax season is coming up, so y'all make sure you take care of that. You can't hide from the tax man.
But I mean, it's embarrassing to have your business put out on Front Street like that. But then again,
the average person can relate to it, though.
The average person can relate to it.
Yes.
A lot of people
Everybody
are
can
going
relate.
through that. So
Very
it's
true.
like, what are you going to do?
How do you treat that, though? Do you pay the past due amount, or do you pay it all in full? What do you do?
now they tax your ass.
I would have loved to pay it all in full, Charlamagne. And then, hi, Catherine. See, Catherine's here. I'm doing I'm doing a story on Migos, right?
Oh, no, we didn't know that.
I'm doing a cover story for Rolling Stone on Migos. Comes out January 26th, same day as Culture 2.
So you already started working on it?
Oh, the story's done.
So how
We
was it
finished
interviewing the
last night.
Migos?
It was good. Offset was a very good interview. He's very
He's
smart.
chatty, yeah.
I mean, we spent a while in the house counting his jewelry. We got to $1.27 million in chains, rings, grills, bracelets, and other things. And watches.
One of those rings or watches would have took care of the IRS bill immediately. Immediately.
Quavo and Takeoff, not the most talkative people.
No, I'm not saying that. Quavo was a very strong interview as well. Takeoff was good. But the thing with Quavo was less interviewing him, although I got good stuff interviewing, and more just being around him.
His personality.
He's personality. He's got the it thing.
Yeah, he does.
He's got the star thing. That whatever that thing, that mystique, whatever. He's got it. And just being around him was just like, you see the thing, and you get the story out of just seeing him.
Or when did the podcast start?
The podcast comes out every Wednesday. So,
It's been,
get in there. We've had 8 or 9 episodes so
it's been
far.
I gotta catch up.
Spike Lee, RZA, Maxwell, Nikki Giovanni, Reggie Hudlin. I had one with David Williams. You know David Williams? He's the number 2 black poker player of all time behind Phil Ivey. Guy made like $9 million at the table.
Wow.
And see, this is what it's at. Like, it's not like let's gossip about da-da-da-da. It's like, so when you get dealt 2 cards and the flop comes out and you're going through 4th Street, 5th Street, what are you thinking? And he ran through all the things that he's thinking when he's going through a hand. And almost none of it had to do with his hand. It has to do with who you are, your betting patterns. Have we had a problem in another game and you're trying to get back? He was like, I need to be aware of your perception of me, your perception of me, what you think I think of you, what you think of what I think of you, what you think of me, like 3, 4, 5, 6 layers of all these sort of things within a few seconds.
Sound like chess.
You know, yeah, absolutely like chess. He talked about a woman, just to make the example, he talked about a woman, great professional poker player, who won an online tournament never looking at her own cards. Just seeing other people's cards.
Wow.
Just to understand how little your cards have to do. Obviously, you don't get an advantage in not looking at your cards.
And that's a great metaphor for life.
Yes, but just dealing with other people and their betting patterns and their way, that's the core of the game for him. So that's just some of the stuff that I'm trying to get at. Like, you're a poker star. How do you do it? What do you do when you're actually sitting there with the cards?
Word.
Well, we appreciate you for joining us and sitting down
Thank
and talking
you.
with us for
The Touré
50
Show.
minutes. It's Touré.
Where they can find you on Twitter and all that stuff, too.
On Twitter, at Touré, at Toure, on Instagram, at Touré Show. And check out the podcast,
No
Touré
last
Show.
name, people.
No
All right.
last name.
It's the Breakfast Club. It's Touré.